Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. You're now tuned into the one and only B-Rad Show, and I'm your host, the M to the J to the. You already know how it goes. Hope you guys are having a wonderful, beautiful day. So today's episode, as you could tell from the title, we're gonna be talking about and discussing and revolving around a movie that has premiered on Netflix called The Midnight Sky, and this film was directed by Mr. George Clooney himself. Once again, Mr. George Clooney himself. What more can I say about George Clooney? George Clooney is a banger. Okay, he is a top-list, A-list actor. He's one of the most recognized actors in the industry. Okay, it was good to see George Clooney in a film, and especially playing the main character, because it's been a while since we've seen George Clooney in a film, yet alone being the main character. So basically, first of all, before I go into the backstory, I'm going to be talking. First of all, I want to let you guys know this film was actually based on an actual novel. The novel was called Good Morning. Okay, this was a novel, Good Morning. I'll make sure I leave a link in the description, so that way you guys, if you guys are curious and you guys love to read, you'll be able to get the link to the description, and you'll be able to get your hands on a copy of the actual novel Good Morning. But as I said, I'm going to be giving you guys and speaking my opinions, my points of views, my thoughts, and my reactions. I'm also going to be giving this movie a rating. So first off, I will start in giving you guys the backstory. So this movie is pretty much about, in the aftermath of a global catastrophe, a lone scientist in the Arctic races to contact a crew of astronauts with a warning to warn them not to come to Earth. Okay, this is the backstory of the whole movie. And may I add, this movie, first off, I want to say that I think that, once again, this movie, it did a hell of a job as far as the casting. The casting, the cast crew was casted properly. And the fact that Mr. George Clooney himself was the director on this film, you knew it was going to be a banger. And I think that it was just a good job of the cast. So first off, I will start by giving you guys a full, basically rundown of all the cast members in this film. We're talking about Mr. George Clooney himself. George Clooney himself, a beast, a banger. George Clooney plays the character, the scientist Augustine. Felicity Jones playing Sully. David Olowa playing Captain Adderley, best known from the movie Red Tails. If you guys don't know about the movie Red Tails was a movie about a group of black pilots that were actually got the rights and got the authority to be able to get their wings and be able to fly during the time in the military. This was the movie Red Tails, and this is what Mr. David Olowa. If I'm pronouncing that wrong, I'm sorry, you guys, but some of these people's names, it just looks so weird, and I have a hard time pronouncing it. But you guys know what I'm referring to, okay? So that's what Mr. David Olowa is best known for, is the Red Tails movie. Also, this movie also has Mrs. Canaline Springall. Now, Canaline Springall is a key character in this film. The character Iris. So Canaline Springall plays the character Iris. Then we have Kyle Chandler playing the character Mitchell. Now, for those of you guys don't know, Kyle Chandler is best known from the Friday Night Lights series. Okay, he played the coach. And may I add, Mr. Kyle Chandler was a very beast in the Friday Night series, along with supporting cast such as Mr. You guys best known as the 2020 sexiest man alive. He's been voted the sexiest man alive, Mr. Michael B. Jordan. Okay, so this is what Mr. Kyle Chandler playing the character Mitchell is best known for, the Friday Night Lights series. Okay, and then we have Miriam Shore, the character Mitchell's wife, and then we have Sophia Runkle playing Jean. Okay, so these are the key characters in this film. Now, there were some other characters in this film as well that I think that did a good job, but I didn't want to waste too much time going down the complete list of all the cast members in this film. But I gave you guys pretty much the majority of key characters in this film. Now, what I want to say, start off by you guys saying, I think that this was a good film. I liked this film from the beginning to the end. Even though I had some opinions and I had some views and my points of views pertaining to the end of this film, but we'll get into that later in this segment. So first off, I want to start by saying I think that this film was good. It was very interesting. I liked the way it started, and I liked the way it kept progressing. I liked the way the film was casted. The cast members did a hell of a job. Now, some key information that you guys need to know about this. I already told you guys that this movie is based on the novel Good Morning. Also, You guys need a key information you guys need to know, because it was very debatable and it was very confusing. The character Sully and the character Attawol, which is Captain Attawol and then Sully. It was very interesting. It was very confusing to know whether these two were a couple or were they not a couple. Now we know that the character Sully, that she was pregnant, okay? She was pregnant and she was going to be expecting a child eventually. Now these astronauts, they were actually on a spaceship and they were in space. Now they had went on a journey. Now the journey that they had went on, it had already been, it was based on the theories and the scientific experiments of the main character Augustine, played by George Clooney. Now George Clooney playing the character of Augustine was still on the planet Earth. Now the way this film started, I think was so great. And it was based on it gave you the scene of George Clooney. But when it first started, it gave you the image of a couple of the key characters, in which we'll say Mrs. Felicity Jones playing Sully, where she was saw the spaceship leaving and she was screaming, like telling them to hold on. But it went into the character of Augustine. Now, what I liked about this film is that it gave you multiple versions of Augustine, of the actor George Clooney. It gave you, the story was jumping in, giving you backstories. It was jumping from a younger version of George Clooney and then giving you the older version of George Clooney. This is what the film was giving you. Now, what I thought was very interesting, as the film started progressing and when we saw that the main character Augustine, he was on Earth and he was all by himself. But then when the actress Canaline Springow playing the character Iris, she appeared on the scene. And when she appeared on the scene, I liked how she appeared on the scene. When Iris, the character Iris, appeared on the scene, the first thing I thought, in the first expression and in the first opinion that came to my mind, is I thought of the movie Ghost Ship. For all of you guys that are aware and know of this movie and are familiar with the movie Ghost Ship, the little girl that was in the movie Ghost Ship, this is the first impression that I got of Iris. I saw a good similarity between Iris and Ghost Ship, okay? And between Iris and the girl that was the young girl on the Ghost Ship movie, where all those people, the crew of people on the ship, where they found this large, huge ship that was basically lost, and it was like hadn't been discovered, and they found this ship, and then when they went onto the ship, this young girl was basically throughout the movie just trying to give them warnings and signs. So this is what my first impression of Iris was. So when George Clooney first came into contact with Iris, it was kind of weird, because my first impressions was I didn't know. I was trying to figure out, was Iris, was she a spirit, was she a ghost, or was she real? It was hard to tell whether she was real or not. We couldn't tell or not because the way how it first started. I liked how the film, how it gave you that option where you didn't know whether Iris was actually real or was she a part of Augustine's imagination. And my first impressions was, as I started seeing, as it got a little bit into the movie, I wanted to know, in my first ideas and thoughts and suggestions and opinions I was like, okay, is Iris real, or is she a make-believe? Is she a character in just in his mind and his imagination? And then I also thought to myself, did Iris have some type of connection to Augustine? Okay, because it was weird how when Augustine appeared, and then Iris appeared, and Augustine was like, okay, who are you? And then he tried to make contact make communication. He was like, okay, a child was left behind, but he did not receive any communication. But as the movie kept progressing, Iris and Augustine built some type of connection, some strong bond. And see, this would further led me to the perception to believe that it had to be some type of link or connection between Augustine and Iris. And later on in the film, towards the end, we start to discover and unravel what was the connection between Augustine and Iris. But as I said, one thing I liked about the film is that it kept going through the backstory. It kept jumping between the backstory of Augustine as a younger age and then into the older version. I like how they were doing that. And then we had Sophia Runkel playing Jean, the character Jean, which was Augustine's wife. One thing I liked is I like how they gave us the backstory, and I think that Mrs. Sophia Runkle playing the character of Jean, I think she did a hell of a job. Even though they did not give Jean, the character of Jean, she did not have a major role in the film. I still think that Sophia Runkle did a good job playing the character Jean. She did a good job even when she had a couple scenes. And it was strange because how we saw the backstory when Jean was talking to Augustine, saying, okay, well, you're focused so much on being an explorer in your career that you don't realize that it's having an effect on your personal life. And I think that the backstory was the reason why I think it was so good, because you could relate to this. I think it touched bases on reality compared to fiction. This movie was touching base on reality compared to fiction. And like I said, I was so curious to understand what was the connection between Iris and Augustine, because at some points through the beginning of the film, in the middle of the film, it was like, is Iris a real person, or is she actually a fictional character, or just imagination of Augustine's mind? And it was just so crazy. And I like how they started bonding, and George Clooney and Caroline Springall. I like how they were, the connection they were building. I like how their stage presence, I think that the connection, the synchronization of their presence on the film, I think they did a good job. Personally, I think that George Clooney and Caroline Springall were the main key characters in this film. I think they stole the show in this whole film. I think they were the main key characters. And the thing is, I was questioning, okay, did she have some type of connection to him? So some of my first thoughts was she a part of his machination? And then because of the backstory they gave us when Augustine being a younger age, when his wife Jean was talking to him, I was like, okay, could this possibly be his daughter, you know, that he never saw or never met? So I think that it was good. Another key thing I liked about the film, I like how the way they revolved around the space crew, how they gave us scenes around the space crew. What I thought was real funny and I thought it was hilarious was in the part where there were some malfunctionings with the spaceship, with the satellites and the communications, and when three of the characters, Maya, the captain, and Sully had went outside of the spaceship to try to do the maintenance and repair the malfunctions on the spaceship. I like the fact that when the captain had asked one of his crew members to play an inspirational song, the song that they were playing, it was just so hilarious because the song, you could tell the song that they were playing, it was almost like as if the whole crew had got used to the song, because probably the crew had a certain available songs that were available, and that song had probably been played over and over and over to where the crew had heard that song so many times to where the crew was so used to it. And I like how the whole crew was singing along with it and laughing and joking around, except for the character Maya, because obviously she had to be new to the crew, so she wasn't aware of the song. She was the only one that wasn't singing along. But I like that part of singing. I thought it was so hilarious. Now, what I thought was a good job is I like the part of the scene when Maya when we saw that, we thought that Maya was going to be knocked away and to be lost in space. I like the fact how after they got back inside of the spaceship, I like the part how the director, George Clooney, and the producers, and I like how all the people that was involved around the staging of the scenes, I like how they gave us that scenario where, you know, when Maya was first start talking, and then she realized she saw a drop of blood inside of her helmet, and then she started panicking. What I liked was, I think they did a good job, is they gave us a very good dramatic scene, is when they took her helmet off, they gave us a good visualization, a feeling of when they took her helmet off, the way all that blood started like smearing out into that specific area, into the room. When all that blood starts smearing out, like floating in the air, automatically I knew, and I know a lot of you probably already knew, that even though they still spent several minutes, especially Sully, talking to Jean, trying to encourage her to keep breathing, I knew already when we saw all that blood floating in the air, we knew that Maya was going to die. Okay, we knew that Maya was going to die. And that was the sad part of the scene. I think that was the saddest part of the scene when Maya had passed away. I think that was the saddest part of the scene. But I like how the film, they gave us that good dramatic stage scene of when Sully took that helmet off and that blood started just floating in the air. You could tell that was so much blood. You could tell that we knew that Maya was going to die. Okay. As far as, like I said, the movie, I think the movie was good. I was entertained. I think the movie was good. Overall, the movie was good. It kept you wanting to see more, It kept you curious, wondering what was going to be the next outcome, what was going to happen next. Now, as we move further along, towards the ending of the film, what I was dissatisfied by, one of the things I was dissatisfied by is the way the movie ended. I think that the movie could have been ended better, okay? Now, as we're talking about the character Augustine, we're talking about the character Iris. At the end of the film, it got revealed to us, we come to find out that Iris was the kid version of Sully. And actually, Iris was actually Sully's real name. So we come to discover and find out that Iris was Augustine's daughter that he had never met. And what I was so dissatisfied and angry about is that they didn't allow for Augustine to inform Sully that she was his daughter. That's what I didn't like about that. I felt that they should have implemented that in there. They should have let Augustine go in there and say, hey, after he found it, because you could see it was so dramatic, and I like how George Clooney did a good job. But when he found out, when Sully told Augustine who she really was, I mean when she said her full name, and he come to find out that Iris, the same girl, the young girl that throughout the film that he was taking care of and trying to protect, he come to discover and find out that it was actually his daughter. I think they did a good job on this dramatic scene, but I was so upset that they did not have him reveal to Sully that in fact that she was his daughter. Okay, I think that they should have implemented that. I didn't like the way the film ended. I was a little bit upset about that. I didn't like the way the film ended. I think that the film should have ended a little bit differently. Okay, like I said, they should have implemented that to where George Clooney went on a little bit further, like the communication between George Clooney and Felicity Jones. It should have went a little bit further to where where Felicity Jones wound up and discovering and finding out that George Clooney was actually her father. Okay, I think they should have put that in there. Instead, they kept us a little guessing. And what I want to say is the ending was a little bit like it was vague. Okay, the ending was so vague because it's like, okay, this is how you guys are going to end the film? Come on now. And like I told you guys, piggybacking on what I told you guys about Sully and Captain Attewell being a couple, you assume that they were a couple, but at the ending, you seen the captain. He started walking away, and he went like upstairs and went towards a different direction. And then a few minutes later, Sully, she went a different direction, like she went downstairs. Okay, I thought that was so weird because you gave us the perception that these two were a couple. So if they were not a couple, the question was, were they a couple or were they not a couple? So you guys make sure you spam in the comments. Let me know, were they a couple or were they not a couple? Because the way the film ended, it was like, okay, are they a couple or they must not be a couple, because they're going different directions. And that was so confusing because throughout the movie we assumed that they were a couple and that Sully was pregnant by the captain. But the way they went in different directions at the end of the film was like, so this is weird. So are they not a couple? It was so awkward. So I just thought that was kind of weird. Like I said, I was a little bit dissatisfied with the end of the film, but overall, I still think the film was a good film. I think this is a much-watched film. So if you have not watched this film, I highly recommend that you watch this film, and I will make sure I leave a link in the description, so that way you guys will be able to check this film out. Now, I'm going to be giving you guys my overall rating on a scale of 1 to 10. On a scale of 1 to 10, I give this movie a 8.5. I give it an 8.5. And the reason why I give it an 8.5 is because the ending. The way the film ended, I think that they could have did a little bit better on the way that the film ended. I think they left us in the air, like up in the air, like still guessing, like, okay, what's going on between Captain Adderall and Sully? And then the whole fact that they didn't further along let that dramatic scene at the end progress between Augustine and Sully. I think that because of the fact that when Augustine realized that the young girl that he was actually protecting throughout the film, that he come to find out that was his daughter, I think that they should have had him reveal that to her, saying, I know, I'm familiar with Iris, you're my daughter. I think they should have revealed that. But I did like how when he found out that it was Iris, that the young girl, the actress Cataline Springo, she disappeared and vanished at the end of the film. And then that's, like I said, that's what brought on more of the dramatic scene. And then that's when Augustine realized, oh man, this was my daughter here. So we know that I think his daughter was there. Iris was there. Iris was there to keep him going in order to make contact with the astronaut crew to let them know, do not come back to Earth, because it's not. Earth is not what you're used to. What we know of Earth is it doesn't exist no more. I like that, okay? And I think that was Iris's main role was. I think she was a part of his imagination. She came there to aid him and assist him, to keep him alive, to keep him progressing long enough to make contact with his daughter at an older age and make contact with the crew in order to let them know and inform them not to come back to Earth. And I think it was just a good job overall. Like I said, for me personally, I think this film overall, I give it 2 thumbs up. This film was great. The only thing negative I have to say about this film is that I was a little bit dissatisfied by the ending of this film. They should have progressed that little dramatic scene at the end a little bit longer and let Augustine reveal who he was to Sully. And I think it would have gave us a more dramatic scene to see Sully, seeing how she was pregnant with a child. It would have gave us a more dramatic scene for Sully to have that dramatic scene and maybe go into tears, like realizing, man, this great scientist that everyone idolized was actually her father that she never knew. I think this was so great and amazing. And that would have been great for the film at the end of the film. But overall, like I said, I give this film an 8.5. As a matter of fact, I'll boost it up another 5 points. I will give this film a 9 rating. So on the scale of 1 to 10, I will give this film a 9 rating. And this film would have got a 10 rating overall, a 10 rating. It would have got a 10 rating if they would have progressed that ending with that dramatic scene and allowed Augustine to reveal who he was to Sully. I think that would have been a nail in the coffin. It would have been the icing on top of the cake. That would have gave this film a 10 rating. So I'm curious to know what you guys think. If you have seen this film, I'm curious to know, did you guys like this film or did you not like this film? Make sure you spam in the comments and let me know what your opinions and what your thoughts are with this film. If you have not watched this film, I highly recommend that you go cop and peep and check this film out. I'm curious to know also, how do you guys think that George Clooney did in this film, especially since we haven't not seen him in a film, especially being a main character in a film for a minute now? How do you guys think that George Clooney did in this film? I think he did a hell of a job, and I actually think that this film will be an Oscar-nominated film, ladies and gentlemen. And I think that Mr. George Clooney will win an Oscar at some point in the near future. George Clooney will win an Oscar for this film, The Midnight Sky, okay? So that's pretty much all I have for you guys. Like I said, this was a very interesting movie. I loved it. I didn't really have nothing negative or bad to say about it. The only thing negative that I had to say about it was I was a little dissatisfied by the ending. Also, what I did like about this film as well is during certain parts of the film, especially when Augustine and Iris was walking through the major snowstorm, and then he kept hearing voices like a dog or some type of animal, and he lost contact with Iris for several minutes. I like how Iris appeared again And then it gave him that joy. So this, like I said, this is what the concept was. We was trying to figure out was Iris a fictional character? Was she a part of his imagination, or was she real? Was she really left on the planet Earth right along with Augustine? But other than that, I have nothing to say negative about this film, and nothing negative except for I think the ending could have been ended a little bit better. Other than that, I give this film a 10. I give this film a 9 rating, and it would have been a 10 if they would have did a little better job on the ending. So I want to appreciate you guys, give you guys much love and respect for supporting the channel. Once again, thank you guys. I hope you guys are having a wonderful, beautiful day. So you guys already know what to do. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe, and don't forget to share this video. Click that notification button so you'll always be up to date when I drop new content. So you already know what it is. It's the M to the J to the, Peace.